Yo, what's going on, guys? So today we're going to take a look at the Week 7 Sunday Night Football Showdown slate on Draftkings. The Sunday night, we got a game between the Eagles and the Cowboys. We're going to go through and talk through some of my favorite plays on this Showdown slate, who I feel like I'm going to be playing at captain across all my lineups, who's going to be my most exposed captain. I'll try and give you some of the stud plays I like at the top, but also mixing in some value plays as well. Some cheap guys that'll make it pretty easy to fit in those studs. Just before we do get started, I would definitely appreciate it if you would drop a like on this video. Feel free to let me know down in the comments who are some of your favorite plays for this showdown slate. Who's your top captain? Who's the guy that you're going to try and pay up for at captain? Or if you're trying to go cheap at captain, you can feel free to let me know down in the comments who that's going to be. But also, if you have any feedback, you can leave any feedback down in the comment section as well. Always appreciate your guys' feedback. If you want to critique this video, if there's anything you would like to see changed or improved, you can always comment that down below. Also, if you are new to the channel, a lot of the people that watch my videos are not subscribed. Make sure you do click that subscribe button down below. Be sure to click the notification bell as well, so that way you get notified every time I upload and you'll never miss out on a new video. I would definitely appreciate it if you guys would subscribe if you aren't already. But let's go ahead and take a look at the top of this showdown slate, who I'm going to be targeting at the top. And the first guy that I like is Dak Prescott. So Dak Prescott is 16,200 as a captain play, 10,800 as a flex play. I do like playing both quarterbacks in this game if possible, but if I can only choose one, I'm going to roll with Dak Prescott over Carson Wentz. I believe Prescott's $800 more. The way you beat this Philadelphia team is through the air. They are one of the toughest teams to run on in the league. We saw it in Week 6 against the Vikings. The Eagles were able to stuff Dalvin Cook. He didn't get much done through the ground. Only had like 40 rushing yards. Did get into the end zone, but still only finished with about 13 Draftkings points. Definitely was Dalvin Cook's worst game of the year. Wouldn't be surprised if Ezekiel Elliott has one of his worst games of the year here against the Eagles. It's just a really tough matchup. Eagles have a very good run defense, but their secondary, their pass defense is not good at all. I do like Dak Prescott a lot here. We're going to talk about some of his receivers that I think are great plays as well. And aside from the one bad game against New Orleans, you're getting a pretty solid floor from Dak Prescott. He only had about 8 or 9 DraftKings points in that game against New Orleans. But last week, I think he had 18 DraftKings points against the Jets, had like pretty big games against the Cowboys. He's had some other big games this year, like against the Dolphins. Prescott's definitely shown a pretty high ceiling while giving you a good floor as well. So he's my preferred quarterback option in this game if I can only play one. But I'll probably be trying to fit in both quarterbacks if possible. Feel like I'm definitely going to be underweight on Ezekiel Elliott, so that means I'm probably going to pivot a lot of that exposure to Elliott, or from Elliott to guys like Wentz, and we're going to talk about some of the Cowboys receivers who I do like. One of the Cowboys receivers I'm going to be targeting is Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is definitely one of the top plays for me on this showdown slate. Probably going to be the guy that I have the most exposure to at captain. He's 15,300 as a captain play, 10,200 in the flex. You're going to see, obviously, later on in the video that I do have a lot of interest in the Dallas passing game. It starts with Dak and Amari, though. Those are the two guys I like the most from the Dallas side when targeting the quarterback and one of their pass catchers. Amari was looking questionable to play. As I am recording this video on Friday night, it was looking like he was going to be questionable, but we have already gotten news that he's going to be a full go. He's expected to play. So Amari Cooper listed as questionable, but is expected to play as of Friday night. I think this is a great spot for him. The Eagles don't have enough talent in their secondary to be able to stop Amari. Should be able to feast in this matchup. We've seen number one receivers be able to kill the Eagles this year. They got killed by Thielen and Diggs in Week 6. Green Bay had a lot of success against them with Devontae Adams. He had a really big game against the Eagles. This is just a really good spot for Amari Cooper. He obviously gives you a monster ceiling, one of the highest ceilings on the slate. Shown that multiple times this year. Multiple 20-point games, has a 40-point game against Green Bay. Love Amari Cooper here, and definitely one of my top captain plays if I can pay up for him at captain. But now the next guy we're going to look at is also a Cowboys receiver, and that's Michael Gallup. I do like Michael Gallup a lot as well. 14,400 as a captain play, 9,600 as a flex play. Just choosing between him and Amari. I think I'd lean Amari here, but I think you can definitely play both guys together. I do want exposure to Gallup along with Amari Cooper. Even though I do have a lot of interest in Cooper, I still want to get some exposure to Gallup, and I think it's fine to play both guys together. We've seen multiple times this year that both Amari and Gallup can put up big games. Against Green Bay, you got like a 45-point game from Cooper and a 25-point game from Gallup. Against the Giants, they both had big games. Against the Dolphins, they both had pretty big games. You can definitely target both guys in the same lineup on this showdown slate, and it's probably something that I'll be looking to do, especially if I play like Dak at captain. I usually want to play two of his pass catchers if I'm playing a quarterback at captain, so I'll probably be stacking Dak with Gallup and Cooper. Really like Gallup here. It's pretty much the same thing for Cooper. It's a great matchup against a bad Eagles secondary. Great spot for all the pass catchers. And Cooper and Gallup are the two guys I have the most interest in. You could obviously look to like Randall Cobb or maybe Tavon Austin if he gets some run, but it starts with Cooper and Gallup. Those are the two guys I expect to see the most production out of the Dallas pass catchers. Those are the two I like the most. But now we're going to target some guys from the Eagles. Definitely want to look on the Eagles side of the ball. First off, Zach Ertz. I do like quite a bit here at $12K as a captain, $8K as a flex option. Even though we have not got a ceiling game from Zach Ertz so far this season, he continues to see very consistent volume every week. His worst game in terms of targets was 7. He's gotten 7 targets multiple times this year. Has like an 8-target game, a 9-target game, and then he had one game where he got like 16 targets. Zach Ertz is going to see 7, 8, 9 targets pretty much every week. And we know where Carson Wentz is going to look to when he drops back to throw. Right now it's Alshon Jeffrey and Zach Ertz. Those are the two guys that he's targeting the most, that are seeing the most consistent volume. Ertz has always shown a massive ceiling in the past. I don't believe he's going to continue to have just 10, 15-point games all year. We're going to see Zach Ertz break out for 100 yards, multiple touchdowns. It's going to happen at least a couple times this year. Could definitely see it happening here against the Cowboys, especially with no Deshaun Jackson. The Eagles continue to be thin with their pass catchers. Really, it's Alshon and Ertz, and then it's just a big drop-off. They got Agholor, they got Dallas Goedert, they got Mac Hollins, but it's really Ertz and Agholor that should do a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of pass catchers for the Eagles. I think Zach Ertz has a nice game here, and I do like him a lot as a flex play at 8K. If you want to target him at captain, I think it's fine as well. But now the next guy we're going to look at is Nelson Agholor. I do think Nelson Agholor makes a lot of sense as a cheap flex play, only $4,600. With Deshaun Jackson being out for this game, that will make Nelson Agholor the wide receiver 2, and he should play a healthy amount of snaps. Last week with Deshaun Jackson out against the Vikings, Nelson Agholor played 56 out of 65 snaps, which is about 90%. That's a pretty good amount of snaps. And although he hasn't been productive lately, even with Deshaun Jackson out like the last few games, really haven't had a big game from Nelson Agholor. Pretty much ever since Alshon Jeffrey came back, Agholor really hasn't done much. Those two games where Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson were both out, you got really big games from Agholor against the Lions and against the Falcons. But ever since Alshon Jeffrey came back, Agholor definitely hasn't been as productive, but he's still playing a ton of snaps. He's still getting some targets. Last week against the Vikings, although he didn't have a good game, he did see the volume. He got 7 targets last week. So I think he does give you some upside. It is a showdown slate, in my opinion, where I'm not going to really be looking to the kickers or defenses. Rarely do I play kickers or defenses anyways, but I don't have much interest in the defenses. Cowboys D against the Eagles, don't really have much interest in. Eagles D against the Cowboys, don't have much interest in either. And I think you can just find more upside from some pass catchers. We're going to talk about another cheap pass catcher I like on the next slide, to where I don't think you really need to play the kickers in that 3K range. I'd rather just get up to Agholor or drop down to a guy we're going to talk about in the next slide. But Nelson Agholor as a cheap wide receiver with upside, I think makes a lot of sense as a flex play if you're trying to find a cheap flex play. But now the last guy we're going to talk about, another cheap flex play, is Dallas Goedert. Only $1,400 on Draftkings. He should definitely see plenty of run in this game. The Eagles have been using a lot of 2 tight end sets, which is where Dallas Goedert gets a lot of his run, gets a lot of playing time in those 2 tight end sets. He's been one of the biggest beneficiaries so far with Deshaun Jackson out. I thought it was going to be Mac Hollins who was going to be one of the big beneficiaries, and Mac Hollins has been playing a decent amount of snaps. I believe he played about 60% last week. He did see a couple targets, but hasn't really been that productive. Whereas on the other hand, Dallas Goedert has actually been pretty productive last few games with Jackson out, and he got 8 targets last week, so he's seeing a lot of volume. In my opinion, he makes for a great cheap play. I probably won't be using him at captain just because I don't think that's really necessary, and I don't know if he gives you the kind of upside that you need for a captain play. But as a cheap flex play for only $1,400, he's going to open up so much. He's going to allow you to pay up for Dak and Amari. If you want to pay up for Zeke, he's going to allow you to do that. If you're trying to fit in both quarterbacks, going to Goddard as a value is going to allow you to do that as well. So I really like Dallas Goedert here. should play plenty in this game. Going to be using 2 tight end sets. In that Green Bay game where Alshon Jeffrey, or I'm not sure if Alshon Jeffrey played in that game or not, but I know Deshaun Jackson was out in that Green Bay game, and they were lining up Dallas Goedert a lot at receiver. He did catch a touchdown in that game. I think we're going to see the Eagles line him up at receiver some, use him in 2 tight end sets. The snap should be there, should see plenty of targets as well to pay off this price tag, and he just gives you way more upside than this price. If he goes for like 5 catches, 50 yards, and a touchdown, which is totally possible, Dallas Goedert's going to be a top value play. So he's definitely a guy I'm looking to at $1,400. You can also target Mac Hollins, who's pretty cheap as well. Mac Hollins, I believe, is $400. And although he hasn't been very productive with Jackson out, he's still seeing a good amount of playing time, still playing a decent amount of snaps. And with his price tag of $400, he really can't kill you at that price tag, even if he only gets like 4 or 5 DraftKings points. I'd probably try and find the salary to get up to Goedert, but if you want to go full punt with Goedert and Hollins and then just pay it for all the studs, I think that is viable on this Showdown slate. But that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I do really appreciate it. Make sure you check out one of my more recent videos that is popping up on the screen. You can also hover over my logo to subscribe to the channel. And like always, feel free to leave any comments, any questions, any feedback down below in the comment section. I always appreciate that. Good luck on the Showdown slate, guys. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.